Good afternoon, everybody. We are back with the session 4 of handholding session with ICICIdirect. As promised, we will get one expert every week for you guys. And this week I have Ashish, who is heading the mutual fund. But before we start the session, I'd like to wish each one of you a very, very happy new year and a very prosperous happy new year. I hope you make wealth in this financial year and achieve your goals. So Ashish is basically heading the mutual fund product division. Ashish, एक थोड़ा सा intro आप दे दीजिए.
Hi, good morning, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here on the handholding session of ICICIdirect के साथ, session 4 of ICICIdirect. And today we will embark on a journey with you all about mutual funds. What are mutual funds? How have they, in the last few years, have become a product which is being discussed and invested by the retail investors, and how the mutual funds help in a wealth creation journey. I come with a background of mutual funds. I have been into the industry for the last 20 years. Worked across the manufacturing side, where I worked with individual mutual fund houses like Franklin Templeton, ICICI Prudential, Principal, and also into the banking industry, where I work with ICICI Bank and one flagship small finance bank, which is AU Bank. And it's always been my endeavor to give investors, my endeavor is always there to make sure that the investors, whenever I discuss with them, they are handholded into a journey of wealth creation over long term. Everything, what I advise to investors is that you should have a long-term view about investments.
ठीक है आशीष, तो स्टार्ट करते हैं. सो गाइस, पहले एक बार रिकैप कर लेते हैं थोड़ा सा हमने क्या क्या कवर किया अभी तक. सेशन 1 में हमने आपको बताया आप अकाउंट खोलने के बाद कैसे अपना अकाउंट का वेरिफिकेशन कर सकते हैं, कैसे आप लॉग इन एंड रीसेट कर सकते हैं अपने पासवर्ड को. We talked in detail about the homepage, how exactly the homepage looks like. उसके ऊपर research recommendations कैसे आते हैं, how do you search for a particular stock. आज हम देखेंगे म्यूचुअल फंड के बारे में हम कैसे सर्च कर सकते हैं. देन हमने देखा था फंड एलोकेशन, कि आप कैसे वेरियस सेगमेंट्स के अंदर अपना पैसा एलोकेट कर सकते हैं और उस पैसे से आप ट्रांजैक्शन कर सकते हैं. Then we saw how to look at research ideas, how to place an order using research ideas. सेशन 2 में हमने थोड़ा टेक्निकल गए थे. हम लोगों ने वॉच लिस्ट के बारे में बात किया था, हमने चार्ट्स के बारे में बात किया था, एडवांस चार्ट्स एंड इनके फीचर्स के बारे में बात किया था. सेशन 2 के लिंक के अंदर आपको टेक्निकल एनालिसिस रिलेटेड कुछ आर्टिकल्स भी हमने डाले हैं जो आप पढ़ सकते हैं, विच विल गिव यू अ ब्रॉड आइडिया. स्टॉक कैसे खरीदा जाता है डिलीवरी के अंदर एंड एमटीएफ के अंदर, किस टाइप के आप ऑर्डर डाल सकते हैं. हमने लिमिट ऑर्डर के बारे में बात किया था, हमने वीटीसी विच इज वैलिड टिल कैंसिलेशन ऑर्डर के बारे में बात किया था. We also talked about a lot of different types of MTF orders कैसे कर सकते हो आप, स्टॉप लॉस कैसे डाल सकते हो अपने स्टॉक्स के अंदर. सेशन 4 में हमने बेसिक्स ऑफ सेशन 3 में हमने बेसिक्स ऑफ ऑप्शंस के बारे में बात किया था, ऑप्शन चेन को कैसे पढ़ा जाए. गौरव ने वहां पे डिटेल में कवर किया था कि क्या स्ट्राइक लेना चाहिए. फिर उसके बाद हमने आईसीआईसीआई डायरेक्ट के ऊपर क्या क्या फीचर्स हैं ऑप्शन रिलेटेड, फ्लैश ट्रेड, हाउ टू प्लेस एन ऑर्डर. सेशन 3 सेशन 2 में आपके बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस भी आए, हमने उनको आंसर करने की कोशिश की. And today we will cover about mutual funds. So let's start. तो आज हम लोग क्या क्या कवर करेंगे, एक बेसिक्स ऑफ म्यूचुअल फंड, एक एमएफ स्कीम को एनालाइज करने के लिए क्या क्या मेट्रिक्स यूज होते हैं, हाउ टू प्लेस अ म्यूचुअल फंड ऑर्डर, एंड आईसीआईसीआई डायरेक्ट के पास क्या क्या टूल्स हैं विच विल हेल्प योर म्यूचुअल फंड इन्वेस्टमेंट जर्नी अ लॉट मोर सिंपलर एंड इजियर. राइट, सो स्टार्ट करते हैं आशीष.
या
तो आप बताइए म्यूचुअल फंड क्यों, मतलब
देखिए, म्यूचुअल fund as a vehicle in India is about 40-45 years old, maybe more than that with UTI, but UTI was considered as an investment. वहाँ पर fixed returns की बात होती थी. Then the government opened because what the realization came is that the investors को भी capital markets में participate करना चाहिए, but there is a risk of getting directly into capital markets because it requires कोई भी चीज के लिए आपको एक्सपर्ट होना चाहिए. एंड म्यूचुअल फंड एज अ व्हीकल इज अ वेरी वेरी गुड व्हीकल वेयर द एक्सपर्ट्स ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ द इन्वेस्टर पैसा मैनेज करते हैं, एंड हुज जॉब डे इन एंड डे आउट एंड हु आर बीइंग ट्रेन्ड इनटू द आर्ट एंड द बिजनेस ऑफ मैनेजमेंट ऑफ मनी. सो एक रिटेल इन्वेस्टर जो है उसको अगर अपने पैसे को इक्विटी मार्केट से कैपिटल मार्केट्स में डालना है तो डायरेक्टली जाने की बजाय डायरेक्टली गोइंग, एंड दो इट इज नॉट इफ यू हैव द वेयरविथऑल एंड द एक्सपर्टीज, आप वो कर सकते हैं, देयर इज नो प्रॉब्लम, बट बिकॉज वी आर इन्वॉल्व इनटू different professions and we don't get time because the if you invest money directly it requires a lot of time, energy and expertise, plus you have to monitor them on a day-to-day basis. उन सबको देखते हुए म्यूचुअल फंड एज अ व्हीकल के कुछ बेनिफिट्स हैं. एक, यू कैन इन्वेस्ट विद एज लो एज 100 रुपीज इनटू म्यूचुअल फंड्स. अगर आप स्टॉक मार्केट में जाएंगे तो आपको कुछ एक मिनिमम इन्वेस्टमेंट की जरूरत पड़ती है. आप यहाँ पर 100 रुपए से भी अपनी इन्वेस्टमेंट जर्नी चालू कर सकते हैं. यू डोंट हैव टू पुट योर टाइम रिसर्चिंग इक्विटी मार्केट्स एंड स्टडिंग ईच एंड एवरी कंपनी. The fund manager or the investment manager on your behalf will do all the hard work and the groundwork, and he has the access directly to the companies which a normal retail investor does not have. Wherein comes the expertise. The fund manager who manages your money is being trained into that, and he has studied that the art of money management. So what he does, his expertise lies into money management and he has honed his skills. उसने अपनी skills को polish किया है, sharpen किया है over a period of time. कोई भी fund manager जब बनता है, जब वो he has about 10 to 15 years of experience into money management. He starts with an analyst or a normal dealer in the capital markets and slowly वो grow करता है and then he starts managing individual money. एक और चीज है, मार्केट्स, इक्विटी मार्केट्स आर वेरी वॉलेटाइल. दे रन एंड दे प्ले विथ योर इमोशंस. देखिए क्या होता है, मनी मैनेजमेंट और इन्वेस्टमेंट्स में इमोशंस का बहुत बड़ा रोल प्ले होता है. तो आपके लिए इंपॉर्टेंट है कि आप वॉलेटिलिटी को राइड करें सही तरीके से. इफ द मार्केट्स आर गोइंग डाउन, यू आर एबल टू नॉट परटर्ब्ड बाय, और आप उससे डिस्टर्ब ना हो और अपना पैसा लगा के रखें. बट समटाइम्स ऐसा नहीं होता है एंड पैसा निकाल लिया जाता है. जबकि फंड मैनेजर इमोशनल उसका अटैचमेंट नहीं करते हुए वो लोग रैशनल अप्रोच लगाते हैं. सो इट इज इंपॉर्टेंट दैट इंस्टेड ऑफ इमोशंस रैशनैलिटी इज देयर. तो वॉलेटिलिटी में रैशनल अप्रोच जरूरी है. पोर्टफोलियो मैनेजमेंट अप्रोच होती है. इन अ म्यूचुअल फंड यू कैन बाय अ बास्केट ऑफ स्टॉक्स. सो एक पोर्टफोलियो बनता है, एक डाइवर्सिफाइड पोर्टफोलियो बन सकता है. और आपके लिए फंड मैनेजर के पास में एबिलिटी है. अगर आपने बोला कि मुझे लार्ज कैप स्टॉक चाहिए, तो लार्ज कैप में योर money is not invested into a single stock but is diversified across multiple stocks. If you go directly into equity markets, you may buy 1 or 2 stocks, but here you are able to buy a portfolio of 15, 20, 30, 60 stock portfolio with as low as 100 rupees. देखिए, अगर आपको स्टॉक खरीदना है और आपके पास में 5,000 रुपए है, तो कई स्टॉक्स ऐसे भी होंगे जिनकी एक सिंगल स्टॉक की कीमत 5,000 रुपीज हो सकती है, या 10,000 भी हो सकती है, या 500 भी हो सकती है. वहां पर आप म्यूचुअल फंड्स के अंदर 100 रुपए की आप इन्वेस्टमेंट कर सकते हैं और वहां पर आपको एक बास्केट मिलेगा. तो आपका रिस्क डाइवर्सिफाई होती है, पोर्टफोलियो आप बना सकते हैं. प्लस एक और इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है, इक्विटी मार्केट में एक इंफॉर्मेशन, इन्वेस्टमेंट करने के लिए इंफॉर्मेशन की जरूरत होती है. कंपनी क्या कर रही है, उसके फ्यूचर प्लान्स क्या हैं, या अगर वो सही कर रही है तो क्यों कर रही है, या कुछ गलत हो रहा है तो क्यों, आपको क्या डिसीजन लेने चाहिए, या क्या इंडस्ट्री में गलत हो, उस इंडस्ट्री में जिसमें वो ऑपरेट कर रही है वहां पर क्या चैलेंजेस आने वाले हैं. सो ऑल दीज इंफॉर्मेशन एक रिटेल व्यक्ति को लेट अवेलेबल होती है, जो कि एक फंड मैनेजर को जल्दी अवेलेबल है. सो दीज आर सम ऑफ द रीजंस. इंस्टेड ऑफ गोइंग डायरेक्टली, if what you do, what an investor does, if he invests into a mutual fund, he is being taken care of all these things by a single fund manager.
राइट. सो आशीष, इन मतलब मैं ऐसे बोलना चाहूंगा कि अगर किसी को अपना इन्वेस्टमेंट डाइवर्सिफाई करना है, तो बहुत सारे लोग ट्रेडिंग भी करते हैं, बहुत सारे लोग ऑप्शंस में भी खेलते हैं, एंड म्यूचुअल फंड के अंदर भी व्हाट यू से इन्वेस्ट करते हैं. सो प्रोबेबली आई विल से कि मतलब जिसको ये एक्सपर्टीज है उसको भी म्यूचुअल फंड में इन्वेस्ट करना ही चाहिए, बिकॉज दे माइट गेट अ बेनिफिट ऑफ डाइवर्सिफिकेशन.
बिल्कुल राइट. देखिए क्या है कि आप अपनी एनालिसिस करते हैं, अपने एनालिसिस के बेसिस पर काम करते हैं. यहाँ पर आपके पास में जो भी आप एक फंड के अंदर इन्वेस्टमेंट करते हैं, तो फंड की एक पूरी टीम होती है, जो एनालिस्ट होते हैं, पोर्टफोलियो मैनेजर्स होते हैं, फंड मैनेजर्स होते हैं. वो पूरा रिसर्च करते हैं ड्यू डिलिजेंस करते हैं किसी भी कंपनी के ऊपर, एंड देन दे टेक अ इन्वेस्टमेंट कॉल, एंड दे हैव अ वेरी लॉन्ग टर्म बायस. सो this is the benefit. So an investor should definitely, somebody who is doing it directly into equities should also look at maybe diversifying his investment through mutual funds.
Okay. Selvaraj, I understand what you're trying to say, that we are opening account all over the India. So we have kept it as a mix of English and Hindi. We will try to cover most of the information in both the languages. And if you still face any challenge or if you have any questions, please do come back to us. We'll try to answer that question as well. So let's move ahead. So this is basically the process of investing in a mutual fund, right? If you can cover this in a little bit detail.
So see, the concept of mutual fund as enumerated by SEBI. So mutual fund, one very important thing is that the way the regulations has been in India is very watertight. So any investor who is coming into or who's investing and planning to invest into mutual funds, we can very well say there is no risk on his capital, though there can be a risk of investment, but there is no risk of the capital. Any fund house which is being launching its schemes is being first approved by SEBI. In India, mutual funds are regulated in two ways. There is SEBI, which licenses the mutual fund houses, and AMFI, which is a self-regulatory body of the mutual fund themselves. So what happens in mutual fund, a retail investor goes to any fund house, and a fund house would have different schemes depending on the requirement. There can be equity schemes, which we will discuss later on as we proceed ahead. So an investor is offered a choice of schemes depending on his requirement and his risk reward matrix. The investor invests that money with a fund manager. The fund manager takes the money and invests basis the fundamental attributes of the scheme which you have chosen to invest into. So if you have chosen to invest into a large cap scheme, the fund manager will invest money into large cap stocks. He will build a portfolio of stocks anywhere ranging between 10, 15 to 50, 60 stocks. Those stocks over a period of time will grow in the sense the price appreciation happens. Because a fund manager builds a portfolio of stock, it is not that all stocks go up or go down simultaneously. There is a portfolio diversification. So that is there, the diversification things come into place, where he diversifies his portfolio across companies, across industries, across sectors. So it is some stocks will go down, some will go up, and some will be stable. So those portfolios will generate returns, and those returns are passed back to the investors. By diversification, we mean is that the money is spread across the industries, sectors, themes. So like if you invest into a large cap fund, it will invest into banks, financial services companies, so it will invest in services like financial services companies. It will invest into manufacturing companies like your road builder or your infrastructure builder, or it will invest into a metal company. It will invest into IT company. It will invest into a telecom company, or it will invest into a diversified company, which is a conglomerate also. So diversification happens. You get professional management, as we discussed in the beginning of our interaction. The fund manager tries to diversify, is a professional who is trained into the art and science of money management, and it is his job day in and day out to manage money on behalf of the investors. One of the important features of mutual funds, which is a very, I should say, I place 40% weightage to it, is that liquidity. Mutual funds allows you to redeem or invest. See, first is that investment is very easy, but second part is if you want to withdraw your money is also very easy. You can immediately go and ask for the money, and the money will come into your account in 2 days flat. There is no question asked, why are you withdrawing? There is no lock-in as such in the schemes. A client can invest any point of time, and he can withdraw his money any point of time. And as an investor, now mutual funds are being offered across asset classes. Earlier, there is a thought in the minds of the investor that the money invested into mutual fund is only invested into equities. Mutual funds invest across asset classes, equity, debt. They even invest today into gold. They invest into commodities. They invest into international stocks also. Sitting in India, you can buy stocks which are listed in the global stock exchanges. So, and for a retail investor, it's difficult to do research on global stocks, which stock to buy, when to buy, how to buy. Here, he just has to choose a scheme which is investing into global markets. Depending, he wants to invest into Europe, or he wants to invest into US, or he wants to invest into emerging markets. That can be done. And another point is that mutual funds as a product category has delivered market returns over last many years, and also inflation beating returns. Who is looking for investment opportunity is looking to get returns which are beating inflation or beating fixed instruments. Please read the offer document carefully before investing. But the historical trend has shown that mutual fund investments over a 3, 5, 10-year period have delivered index beating returns as well as returns which a fixed investment would have delivered. Plus, they are also tax efficient. If you are invested into an equity mutual fund for a period of more than 1 year, you are only required to pay a 10% capital gains. If you compare it with some of the other asset classes or other investment opportunities, on a tax part, they are more tax efficient as compared to other asset classes. This is how you should look at it.
Fine. So let's move ahead. For our Hindi speaking users, I'll just summarize what Ashish said. देखिए म्यूचुअल फंड क्या है ना, आपका पैसा एक पूल के अंदर इन्वेस्ट करता है. वो पूल जो है प्रोफेशनली मैनेज्ड मैनेजर्स के द्वारा मैनेज्ड होता है. आपको डाइवर्सिफिकेशन का बेनिफिट मिलता है इन द सेंस कि आपका जो पैसा है वो एक पर्टिकुलर स्टॉक के अंदर या एक पर्टिकुलर सेक्टर के अंदर ना रह करके अक्रॉस द मार्केट होता है. सो इवन इफ देयर इज अ स्टॉक स्पेसिफिक मूवमेंट which is downwards and therefore it reduces the risk, and that is also the reason आपको बहुत ज्यादा टाइम नहीं इन्वेस्ट करना पड़ता है, बिकॉज जो टाइम है वो म्यूचुअल फंड का जो मैनेजर है वो खुद इन्वेस्ट कर रहा है. सो मैं बहुत सारे लोगों को जानता हूं जो कि मतलब शायद डायरेक्टली मार्केट को लगातार देखते नहीं है. सो वो अपना पैसा म्यूचुअल फंड में डाल के छोड़ देते हैं. लॉट ऑफ ट्रेडर्स ऑल्सो they end up putting their money into mutual funds and then leave that money for the longer term, right? And जैसा हमने बताया, the fund is managed professionally. Liquidity दोनों stocks के अंदर म्यूचुअल फंड के अंदर बराबर होता है, and with e-ATM feature of ICICI Direct आपको 75% पैसा immediately स्टॉक बेच के भी मिल सकता है. But mutual fund provides you some degree of liquidity because अगर आपका पैसा बहुत लंबे टाइम तक पड़ा है तो you can withdraw that money and you'll get the money back in 2 days. आपको डिफरेंट एसेट क्लासेस के बारे में यू कैन एक्सेस. सो म्यूचुअल फंड्स नॉट ओनली इन्वेस्ट देयर मनी इन लोकल स्टॉक्स इन द सेंस स्टॉक्स इन इंडिया, बट दे विल आल्सो इन्वेस्ट देयर मनी आउटसाइड इंडिया. सो उसका आपको बेनिफिट मिलता है. आपने टैक्स एफिशिएंसी के बारे में, जैसे ELSS फंड है उसके ऊपर आपको टैक्स बेनिफिट मिलता है, वो भी आपने सुना ही होगा. सो दोज आर सम ऑफ द फीचर्स जो कि म्यूचुअल फंड को एक अट्रैक्टिव स्कीम बनाते हैं इन केस यू वांट टू डाइवर्सिफाई योर इन्वेस्टमेंट पोर्टफोलियो, राइट? सो देखते हैं म्यूचुअल फंड का जर्नी कैसा रहा है मार्केट के अंदर.
सो वी आर शोकेसिंग यू द म्यूचुअल फंड as an asset class, how the mutual fund investments have moved. Though the industry is about 40-45 years old, it started with zero. It had adolescent stage in the 2000s, but in the last 15-20 years, it has gained momentum. And in the last 3 years, just after COVID, the growth has been spectacular. Why it has been spectacular? Because people realized that one of the best investment options or opportunities available with all the thoughts which we have shared in the earlier slide, safety, liquidity, risk reward, and returns. The mutual funds were managing about 20 lakh crores as of March of 2020. And now when we talk to you as of November 2023, they're managing more than 49 lakh crores of assets of retail investors. Today in India, the 49 out of these 49 lakh crores of assets, 50% of the assets is of retail individual investors. This is not corporate money. This is retail money. Somebody who has invested 500 rupees, 5,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees, or maybe 20,000 rupees. So 50% of the money is of the retail investors. And why the money has increased? Because the experience of the investors has been very good in terms of liquidity, in terms of returns, and in terms of the whatever has been promised or whatever has been said has been delivered. Another thing which on the right hand side of the slide is the SIP. See, there is a lot of SIP as a buzzword. People confuse between mutual funds and SIP. SIP is a way of investing into mutual funds. SIP is not a mutual fund. SIP is a way of investing into mutual fund. And the retail money which was coming into through the SIP route. SIP is a route or a way of investing into mutual fund, systematic investment plan to be precise, where an investor invests money on a month-on-month basis regularly into his preferred choice of scheme. In March 2020, every month mutual funds were getting 8,000 crores plus of money through the SIP route. Now, as of November 23, mutual funds are getting about 17,000 crores of money every month, which shows that the power which SIP has delivered, the way the SIP returns have been in the last few years, and people have got, and the SIP has got the mind share and the attention of the retail investors, and they are investing into mutual fund through the SIP route, which if you are not participating into mutual fund, you can do through the SIP route, which has been proven in the way the SIP assets have increased in the last few years.
And viewers, for a lot of younger friends of mine, my brothers and sisters, मैं उनको ये बोलता हूँ that one way of starting your investment journey is to start with small amount of SIPs. आप जब young होते हो, आपका earnings कम होता है, आपको इतना risk लेने का मतलब मन नहीं करता है. While you can take a lot of risk at that age, but the point is that because of your lower income values, you are not able to take higher risk. So आप थोड़ा थोड़ा पैसा करके डालेंगे तो उससे आपका एक तो discipline बनता है. It makes you more disciplined in terms of investing your money. And SIP, because are safer, it will help you basically build that discipline and build a wealth over a period of time.
One point I would just like to add here is that SIP as an investment vehicle, you can start with as low as 100 rupees.
Yes.
And SIP can be done weekly. It can be done daily also. Daily, weekly, fortnightly. You can pick and choose which date you want to. From 1st to 28th, you can choose any date. So the kind of the offers which are there and the offerings which is there through the SIP route is innumerable. If you want to start your journey with 100 rupees, test it out and then slowly increase your allocations.
Right. And in today's session, we will cover how to place an order in investment. Ravi Shankar ji, yes, you can ask your queries. If you have questions, please put that out. If there is a relevant section, we'll cover that query at that point in time. Otherwise, we'll try to answer it immediately. So, Ashish, if you can cover types of mutual funds quickly.
So, see, mutual fund as a category, people think is only equities, but equity, apart from equities, mutual fund have equity funds, they have debt funds, they have hybrid funds. Then there are categories, and these categories are very well defined by SEBI. It is not that any fund house can come and just say, I am launching XYZ scheme. They launch any scheme as per the framework given and defined by SEBI. So which gives a clarity to the investor. So and these categories are as per the risk reward. So large cap, mid cap, small cap, multi cap, sectoral funds, flexi cap funds. ELSS is a category where you invest money and you get a tax benefit under Section 80C. So these are the categories in equity. Debt category, you have. So see, equity, then there is a market risk. In debt, there is no market risk, but there is some kind of a liquidity or the risk of the issuer. But then there are different, even an overnight fund, as the name suggests, in debt, you can invest for as low as 1 liquid fund, ultra short duration, as per your requirement, if for how many days you want to invest. So debt, you should look from the number of days you want to invest money. Equity, you should look from a 1 to 3 years perspective. And I would say you should look at a 10-year, 20-year perspective, because if you see the returns over a 10-year, 20-year period, they have been very good and they have been beating the benchmark as well as the other product offering in comparable product offering in the markets. Plus, there is hybrid category. See, I would take a minute on hybrid. Hybrid as a category. What happens in the hybrid category is that as an investor, it is difficult for an investor to time the market. You don't know whether it is the right time today or the right time was yesterday or right time would be tomorrow. But instead of waiting for the right time, you come into a hybrid category where the fund manager will take a call and make an allocation into different asset classes, which is equity, debt, commodities, and will be investing basis certain tested principles, back tested principles. And in that dynamic, there are 3 categories in the hybrid. There are 3 opportunities which I would like to say. Dynamic asset allocation, balance advantage fund category, where there is a certain allocation to equity, certain to debt, and certain to money market instruments, and sometimes the fund managers take a call on the derivatives also. Today, if you see, the biggest fund is in the hybrid category in India. Then there is an equity saving, and then there is an aggressive. So in the hybrid category, these 3 funds are classified basis the equity exposure which the fund will take. So it ranges from anywhere in between 30% to 70% equity allocation. And this is one of the biggest categories in the industry, in the mutual fund industry as of today. And the biggest fund is in the hybrid category in the mutual fund industry.
Okay.
I hope that clarifies.
Yeah. So one of the viewers, Ashish, is asking, what will be the charges on MF SIP of rupees 1,000 versus 10,000? Is it fixed or is it a percentage?
No. So there is no charge per se. There is an expense. There is a fund management charge which is equivalent to all the investors in the. So mutual fund is a democratic product where there is an expense ratio which is defined by SEBI basis the fund size, and accordingly the expenses are charged on the scheme. There is no individual transaction charges on the SIP. There is a fund management charges which is there.
Okay. And somebody is asking, can you clarify about balanced and advantage funds? What do they mean exactly?
So balanced advantage or the dynamic asset allocation category is a category which is so fund. I would put it this way: you don't know whether the market will be up or down tomorrow, but you are giving money to a professional fund manager who bases. So what the fund manager will do, they have their in-house models basis which they come up with a understanding key in today's market, what should be the right allocation for equity, what should be the right allocation for debt, and what should be the right allocation for other asset classes like commodities. So mutual funds also can invest into gold, silver, and other commodities also. So in the dynamic asset allocation category, basis the framework. See, every fund house has its own framework and a modeling being done. So basis the market levels, they have a equity allocation. So they say if the P, so I am giving you a very simple example. They will say if the P of the market is this, or the PB of the Indian market is this, they should have this much of allocation into equity. If the P goes on increasing, they will start reducing their equity allocation. So if they say if the market is going up, they will reduce the equity exposure. And if the market is going down, they will increase the equity exposure and reduce the exposure to debt or to some other asset classes. So they manage the fund in a dynamic way. An investor does not have to take a call if the market is priced fully or is expensive. should he take out the money from mutual funds and then put into from equity mutual funds into debt mutual funds? This is being taken care by the professional fund manager on behalf of the investor. So this is how the balance advantage funds are being classified, or dynamic asset allocation funds are classified. So they can move their equity allocation anywhere in between 30% to 70%. And each fund house has its own categorization. Somebody has 50 to 70, somebody has 30 to 80, 30 to 70, and they have their own framework.
Okay. Usha is asking, can you name an aggressive growth focused mutual fund? And how do we identify one based on our risk appetite?
So, Usha, I will refrain from taking any examples. But see, if you are an aggressive, so on the screen, what we are showing you, mid cap, large cap, small cap. So, see, as a large cap means a category where the companies are very well known. They are leaders in their own industry or in their own category. So, if you want to go, and mid cap is a company which is anywhere in between a small cap and a mid cap company, where the full potential or the company has not reached to its full potential, and there is an expectation that the company will perform better going forward. Then there is a category small cap. So if you are an aggressive investor, you want to take a call that I want to, but as you go down the market cap curve of the company, the volatility into that fund will increase. So if you want to have an aggressive portfolio allocation, you can have maybe higher exposure to small cap and mid cap funds as compared to a large cap funds.
So Usha, we also on our app, we keep on showing what has been the historical returns of various types of categories. Once we come to the app section, we'll try to cover how do you look at them. And then you can take your own informed decision based on your research, right? Dr. Ravi Shankar is asking, please repeat hybrid fund. So sir, what we will do is we'll create an article which will explain each of these types of fund. We'll put it in the description, and then you can go through that article in detail. And if you have any further questions, then we'll try to answer them. Yes, sir. So all the sessions, links are being pasted in the description. You can look at them. You will be able to understand what we have covered in last 3 of our sessions. So coming next, how to analyze a mutual fund scheme.
Yes.
So viewers, there are various aspects that you should be aware of when you are analyzing a mutual fund or when you're looking at mutual fund, right? So when you come to our homepage, you will be able to search various kinds of mutual funds that are available. When you type on the top, there is a search bar. There is also an option where you click on the mutual fund tab in below, which is basically the product section. वहां से आप click करके you can also reach to a place where you'll be able to search for various mutual funds. When we will cover the app demo, we'll cover it in live. Right? You look for any mutual fund. Abhi, Ashish, can you explain what is the difference between IDCW and growth?
Yeah. So mutual funds offer two options to an investor. I will use the word options. So in mutual fund, the growth means if an investor comes and chooses the growth option, this is an option. So the scheme name is the same, ICICI Prudential Blue Chip Fund Growth and ICICI Prudential Blue Chip Fund IDCW. The growth is growth. IDCW means investors, earlier it used to be the option which was the dividend option. So now the IDCW means if there are certain gains which would be taken out from the portfolio and would be distributed amongst the investors as a dividend. So that is the IDCW meaning. The full form will put it across in the description because it would be difficult for you people to understand. And so if somebody who has a view that I would like to reinvest my profits into the fund and I am there for a longer term period, so he should come in the growth option. And somebody who is looking to take out the profits which are being made in the fund on a regular basis, then he can invest into the IDCW option, wherein what happens is that the mutual fund manager will declare a dividend every fund house has its own policy of declaring dividends. There is no set process or there is no defined rule on the IDCW. There is nothing which is defined by SEBI or by AMFI. IDCW option, it is dependent on the surplus which is available into that particular scheme. Surplus means that the fund manager had invested 10 rupees into a basket of stocks. That 10 rupees has become 11 rupees. He books a profit of that, and out of, say, he books a profit of 1 rupees, out of which he wants to, then he will give a dividend or declare a dividend from there, say of 50 paisa. So he will declare a dividend which will be given to the investor as a dividend. Now here there is one more thing which is important to note. See, growth, what happens is that though the fund manager will continue to book profits, but those profits will again, so if out of 1 rupee profit which has been booked, 50 paisa is given back to the investor, only 50 paisa will be reinvested back into some other stock. But in the growth option, the 1 rupee will again be invested into some other stock to generate more growth for the investor. So over a longer term period, the CAGR returns into the growth option would be higher as compared to the IDCW option. And second, if there is a withdrawal which happens into in IDCW, there is a TDS or a tax is deducted at source, and the dividend portion is added into the investor's income and would be eligible to be taxed at the marginal rate of tax under the slab which the investor falls in. If you have a growth option, what you should look, if you withdraw money after completion of 1 year, the tax rate would be 10%, even if you are into a 30% tax slab. But if you opt for the IDCW option, the money which has come to you as a dividend would be taxed at 30%. So in today's parlance, IDCW is not tax efficient in a way. So that is how it is.
Right. So basically, आप यहाँ पे फिर you can look at mutual fund. Whatever you search for, if there is a mutual fund available in that category, you'll be able to see it and you can click on it. As we discuss the difference between growth and IDCW, growth में आपका जो पैसा है वो as is पूरा का पूरा वापस reinvest होते रहता है. IDCW में there is a certain portion of benefit or the returns that are generated from the fund, they are returned back to you in form of dividends. However, growth fund के अंदर if you redeem after 1 year, the tax rates are 10%, immaterial of the tax bracket you are in. Whereas in IDCW आपको थोड़ा taxation का impact पड़ता है. तो अभी कुछ definitions देख लेते हैं म्यूचुअल फंड से रिलेटेड. पहले है NAV. NAV आप लोगों ने बहुत सुना होगा. NAV is nothing but the net asset value of the mutual fund. It is basically the price of one unit, right? One unit आप जब खरीदते हो तो आपको इतने रुपए देने पड़ते हैं. Guys, again, I'm repeating that all of these screenshots are examples. They are not any recommendations from our end. These are just used as an example to explain the concepts to you guys. इसमें हमारा कोई recommendation नहीं है अभी right now.
And there is no promise of the returns.
Yeah, precisely.
Here, what you are seeing is the growth option NAV. In our ICICI Securities platform, we only showcase the growth option performances. We don't showcase the IDCW performance. That is also a disclaimer I am.
Right. So ध्यान रखिएगा, even if you click on IDCW, the values will not will be the same.
Right? But when you go and purchase now, when you click on invest now, then you choose whether you want to. So then the NAV would be of the
right.
Because you're talking of NAV, so you should be. So NAV, there is a difference in the NAV of a growth option and the IDCW option. Mostly the NAV of IDCW option is lower than the NAV of the growth option.
Agree. So NAVs are basically declared at the end of the trading day after markets are closed as per the SEBI and mutual fund regulations. SWP. Balbir Singh ji, do you mean by SIP? Can you please explain the SIP?
SWP. So SWP, could you please help explain the SWP and then it should, yeah. So see, SWP is a tool to withdraw money. The full form of SWP is, for the benefit of all the audience, systematic withdrawal plan. So there are certain people who don't want to be there. I would say this way, they want to realize the gains which they are making on a regular basis. They want to have a cash flow. So some people invest money into mutual funds and want to build a regular cash flow for their other requirements. So nowadays, this is linked to the IDCW option. If you opt for a SWP option, the units from your portfolio would be redeemed at the interval which you have chosen. So SWP can be planned on a monthly basis, or on a quarterly basis, or on a half-yearly basis. You can give a request to the fund house stating that I want to withdraw so much of money at every month, at the end of every month. And you can also pick and choose the date. I want to have an SWP from my fund on, say, 5th or 10th or 30th, whatever the date you want to choose. So SWP is, in a way, is a method of booking profits on a regular basis. Also is a way of cash flows, to generate cash flows from your investments. Normally, now, the taxation in case of SWP is that if you withdraw money within 1 year of investment into a fund, the tax on the withdrawal amount would be treated as a short-term capital gains, and it would be eligible for a 20% capital gains. Any SWP done after completion of 1 year from the date of investment would be eligible for a long-term capital gains tax in case of, I'm talking here about equity schemes. I'm not talking about a debt scheme or a hybrid scheme. This is a disclaimer I'm giving. I am giving you an example of an equity scheme where more than 70% of the money is invested into equities. If you withdraw after completion of 1 year, SWP, if you start a SWP after completion of 1 year, the withdrawals would be taxed at 10% capital gains tax. That is how it would be.
So viewers, what we will do also is we will also create a separate article on what is the taxation, what do you say,
Yes.
mechanics of various schemes, how do they operate, and that
there are a lot of detailed, we will give you a detailed description, what are the benefits of SWP, how it is being comparable with IDCW option,
right,
who should choose it, why should one choose it. So these are a lot of detailed, we already have these details on our ICICIdirect.com platform website, where you can go but we will also put it up on the YouTube.
Yes, we will put a detailed description and we'll answer your query. So let's move ahead.
Yeah.
So now,
yeah. So see, there is a certain cutoff time on a particular. So mutual funds can be are dependent on the equity markets. The NAV is declared when the market is in session. So NAVs are declared from Monday to Friday on the business done, and NAV and the investment can also be done from Monday to Friday. There is a certain cutoff time which is being delivered. If you invest money or your order is received by ICICI Securities by 1 p.m., you will get the NAV of end of the day of that particular business day. So there are certain cutoff times which we have. For equity funds, we have a cutoff time of 1 p.m.
Yeah. So guys, there is some change here. Liquid funds के लिए 12 p.m. का cutoff रहता है, and for debt and equity fund, the cutoff is 2 p.m. I'll just correct it here itself. So cutoff time for equity and debt is 2 p.m., right?
Yeah, 2 p.m. And for liquid and overnight fund, it is 12:30 p.m.
Overnight is 12:30.
Yeah. And for redemption, so these are the purchase subject to the condition that your transaction is received and the money is also received by us before this cutoff time.
Right. So this is what the thing is. Equity and debt, as I said, 12 p.m. Sorry, 2 p.m. and liquid and
on
overnight is
overnight
12:30.
is 12:30.
Take care.
And subject to the condition, this is a transaction should be received by us by 2 p.m. along with the investment amount.
Okay.
So if the investment amount is received later, then we won't be able to process this. In case if you are doing through the internet banking or the UPI mode.
Sure. So this is where you can see what are the various what you say type of funds. Detail about mutual fund. We'll cover it in the detail session when we look at the app also. What is the fund type? What is the minimum investment that is required? What is the total AUM that is there in the fund? What is the benchmark? All the performances associated with the benchmark. Expense ratio kya hai? How much fund of asset are used for administrative and other operating expenses? Then exit load. If you want to exit a mutual fund, what is the kind of charges that are being charged? And then there is also a returns calculator, which basically help you. Somebody was asking, is there any tool to understand which mutual fund should I invest in? So this is one of the tools that we have made, जहाँ पे कि आप ये देख सकते हो कि अगर आपने lump sum में पैसा डाला है या SIP में पैसा डाला है, what is the expected return?
Yeah, so this is how what we have done is that we have given a backend calculator where so I will cover in detail.
Yeah.
Where you can, if somebody would have invested for 1 year, and then he can pick and choose between lump sum and SIP also. If he would have done an SIP of 20,000 rupees per month, how his this fund would have performed vis-a-vis the benchmark as well as the category. So to give you more clarity and to pick and choose whether you should invest into this fund going forward or not. Again, a disclaimer, mutual funds investment are subject to market risk. Past performance may or may not be delivered the way it is being looking. But so what Mudit has shared with you in this, all these things are available. So on the scheme page, there is a lot of details which are there, which you can go and look upon. One important thing which you should be looking at is the performance vis-a-vis the benchmark of that fund, whether the fund is beating the benchmark over a 1 year, 3 year, or a 5 year period. How consistent has the performance been? Maybe sometimes people or the investors fall for 1 year performance. It is important not only to look at a 1 year performance, but to look at a 3 year and a 5 year performance. See, it is important the fund performance, because you are investing for a longer term. 3 year, 4, 5 year performance should always be looked at. But at a platform level, we give you an opportunity to compare the performance on a 1 year, 3 year, and a 5 year.
Yeah, and even 3 months. Basically.
Yeah, 3 months also.
Right.
In some funds we give that.
Right. So this is basically a detail. If the investment was of 20,000 bucks lump sum, what would be the returns if you had invested like 1 year back?
So this is not a future looking prediction. This is a past performance which has been delivered by the fund, and we don't give any future looking performance.
Right.
Guidance.
Anyway, you cannot predict future in capital markets. These are like just the expected returns. But yes, there is a research team that works in detail, and will cover the research related products also, which we have on mutual fund side. So these are basically some of the basic definitions that you should be aware of while investing in mutual funds. What is the standard deviation? Standard deviation is basically the volatility in of the returns that the particular fund has shown. Alpha is basically the return which a particular mutual fund scheme has made over and above the benchmark, whatever that benchmark is, right? Then beta is basically the beta measures the relative volatility with respect to the benchmark. If the beta is lower than 1, then these are typically called defensive, mutual fund, in the sense that they have lower volatility vis-a-vis the benchmark. Vis-a-vis the benchmark, and if the value is more than 1, then they are considered to be higher volatility, rather aggressive. Then Sharpe ratio, you would know that it is the excess return. The Sharpe ratio indicates how well an equity investment or any investment is performing, right? And Sortino is also similar to Sharpe ratio. I'll not get into the detail of this, but what we will do is we'll also write a detailed article how to analyze a mutual fund performance and how do you look at it, right? So now coming to placing a mutual fund order. So Ashish, my suggestion is let us move to our app.
Yeah.
Right. So that our viewers can see what do we do and how do you place an order. Let me just.
For the benefit of the investors, our app is interactive. You can go and play around with the options where you can pick. There's a compare option which is also there, where you can. So all these points which Mudit had shown to you and spoken about, there is an option for the investor to compare two funds on all these parameters.
Right. So I'll just share my screen. Okay. So I hope the screen is visible to all of you. As we talked about, there are two ways to reach mutual funds.
Yes.
One is obviously you can search here. For example, if I search for ICICI, I'll get all the options, which is stocks, futures, and options, and then I can look at mutual fund.
Yeah, ICICI blue chip. Yeah, this is now. Yeah,
right. So one more way of going here is you can click on the Discover Products tab, which is here. If you click on it, there's a detailed segment that has been prepared for you guys, and you can all see what is available. So
this is the tab which is dedicated to mutual funds.
Right.
And what we have done is that we have made it very, very interactive for our investors. So what we do, so from top to bottom, I can say is, so there are schemes. There is a research pick, there is an SIP at the rate 100, new fund offer, and in top performing funds, where somebody was asking how we need to compare. So what we have done, we have showcased the top performing funds in all the category on all. So there are more than 5,000 funds which are available in the market, and we have captured the top 5 performing funds in the overall mutual fund industry on a relative performance basis. Then we have also gone one step ahead, and we have, if you can move to large cap, so we have classified funds basis as per the SEBI mandate, large and mid cap, small cap, ELSS. So you can go and click how the performance of who are the top performing fund in each of the category here.
Right. And as we talked about, these are the various types of fund that are available, which we have discussed. So आपको large cap मिलेगा यहाँ पे, large and mid cap मिलेगा, small cap, ELSS, debt,
hybrid मिलेगा.
All these funds you'll be able to see. On the top, we give the research picks. These are basically the picks which are decided by a research team.
So what our research team does is that, see, we are a mutual fund distributor. What we do is, see, normally it is not that we just put a fund on the platform and then allow the investor. What we do a lot of in-house research. There's a team of research analysts and a research head whose job day in and day out is to deep dive into a fund, interact with the fund manager, the person who's managing the money on your behalf, understand his fund management style, what stocks he has bought, why he has bought, and then come up with a curated list of research picks in each of the categories. We don't give, say, 10 or 5, we don't come up with 10 funds or 20 funds into a single category. We pick and another disclaimer, the fund performance is not the only criteria. It is how well the fund manager is managing the money of the investor. Is he, as at one point Mudit was showing you the Sharpe ratio and the beta. So there is a lot of weightages, which there is a checklist on which a fund is given weightages, and after that the top funds which come across are being showcased in front of you as our research picks. So there is a detailed process on selecting the research picks for our investors. So instead of you spending time and effort on doing a research, we do a research on your behalf and put it across in front of you as our research picks. Basis 20-25 parameters on which we rate a fund and then come up with the top research picks on our behalf.
Right. Rishi, will it be possible to remove focus from us so that the screen is a little bigger? So guys, as we saw, हमने देखा था पहले ऊपर NAV रहता है.
Yeah.
There is this returns. You can select the returns basis your requirement. So 5-year return is like this, 3-year return is like this, 6-month return is like this, 1-month return is like this, right? Then आपको fund type पता चलेगा. Open-ended fund basically, which means that you can enter or exit the fund at any time.
Yes.
Close-ended fund में whenever the fund is open, that is only when you can
Yes.
enter the fund. Then what is the minimum investment required? So
Yeah.
SIP is 500, lump sum is rupees
100.
इसका कोई लॉक इन नहीं है. इसका AUM कितना है, व्हाट इज द एक्सपेंस रेशियो, इसका बेंचमार्क क्या हमने डाल के रखा है, व्हाट वाज द लॉन्च डेट ऑफ दिस फंड. You can look at the exit load. Now if the fund, say for example I had invested 20,000 rupees lump sum, then for 1 year what would have been my return if I had invested 1 year back, right?
And with the just if you can scroll down.
So
yeah. So if you would have invested, somebody would have invested into this fund 1 year back, his returns into this fund would have been 32%. And we are giving a comparison also vis-a-vis the category. What is the return of the category and what is the return of the benchmark? So how is stacking? So this is how you can do a comparison and pick and choose one, whether it is beating the benchmark, and you can compare it on a 1 year. If you can change 1 year, 3 year,
yeah.
So you can do a comparison also. Okay, how has it only beaten on 1 year, or it is beating the benchmark and the industry on a 3 year and a 5 year period. So consistently performing fund है, वो कैटेगरी को भी बीट कर रहा है, बेंचमार्क को भी बीट कर रहा है, फंड कंपैरिजन भी दिया गया है.
Right. And one more thing I would like to re-emphasize here is, guys, this is historical return, this is not future returns, because if you look at the numbers here, आपको यही नंबर यहाँ पे दिखाई देंगे. ठीक है, this is the number. 1 year का return is 32.22, 3 year का this is annualized return again, and 5 year का return is again annualized, right? So this is what the return we are showing. If you look at 1 year ka return, this is 32.22,
Yeah.
which essentially means this is the past return. Now you can also do a fund comparison. You can see fund comparison against like various funds that have given 3-year returns, which are in the same category.
Yes.
Right.
One point is there is also a rating. There is a 5-star, 4-star. So these ratings are being taken. So we take it from Value Research, which is a trusted name in the mutual fund industry. So they are independent of either us and also of the fund houses. They do a due diligence on each of the fund and then come up with a rating. So we use those ratings also in our research.
Yeah, these ratings are basically expert recommendations.
Yeah, expert recommendations. Right? That is how it is.
इसमें आप ये देख सकते हैं कि फंड का एसेट एलोकेशन कितना, इक्विटी में कितना पैसा डाला हुआ है, TREPS में, मार्जिन में, नेट रिसीवेबल कितना है, सेक्टर्स कौन कौन से डाले हुए हैं. You can get a lot of details, which is the sector that the fund has invested in, right? इसमें टॉप होल्डिंग्स कौन कौन से हैं, then इसका रिस्क मीटर कैसा है, whether it's a moderate risk, high risk or low risk type of fund, and then what are the other what you say details about
much more detail if the investor wants to.
So essentially guys, जो लोग म्यूचुअल फंड में इन्वेस्ट करना चाहते हैं और इवन इस मार्केट के बारे में अंडरस्टैंड करना चाहते हैं, आपको इस पेज से इतना डिटेल मिलेगा कि आपको समझ में आएगा कि कैसे एक म्यूचुअल फंड इन्वेस्टमेंट को एनालाइज किया जाए. Right now, when you press on invest now, you will be able to see this. Now, the question would be asked whether you want to do an SIP or you want to do a lump sum. If you press on lump sum, you can put in an amount and say, for example, I think 20,000 was the minimum amount.
No, 2,000. The minimum amount was only 100 rupees.
100. Okay, so we can place an order for $100, and then आपके allocation say, if you have allocated money in your account, you'll be able to do an allocation, and there will be an OTP that will be asked, that will be sent to you. And you can just put that OTP and this order would be submitted, right? This is how you can place an order.
So in 4 steps, you would be able to, from choosing the scheme to the final submit button, in 4 steps, you can invest into a mutual fund scheme.
Right. Now, one more interesting aspect of the app we will cover is mutual fund picks.
Yeah.
Right. So this is what the research picks that we talked about, right? When we landed onto the mutual fund page, we saw these research picks.
Yes.
So when you click on this, you will be able to get the details of various schemes which Ashish talked about in detail, how you can invest in them.
So this is one of the differentiating factor of ICICI Securities vis-a-vis the other platforms.
Right.
So see, normally all the platforms will showcase the top performing funds and then they just give a list of the funds which are there. We have also done that, but to go one step ahead, we have an in-house research team at and whose job, as I told you, is in and day out, is to deep dive into each and every fund and then come up with a list of curated list of 3 to 5 funds in each of the categories, which we believe are the, maybe say on a comparable basis, are the best among the lot available in that category. On not only on the performance, but also on the way the fund manager manages the money, how he is able to ride the volatility, what is not only a 1-year performance, what is a 3-year performance, how he picks and choose stocks and sectors. Is he taking too much of risk to give you the returns which is being showcased, or is he taking the right steps to build a portfolio? Is he too heavy into a sector or a stock which can create a risk? Is he taking too much of risk? So if the portfolio beta is high, he is taking too much of risk for delivering the kind of returns which he is delivering. So there are a lot of factors. But see, why I'm saying a research pick should be the go-to tab for you all, because we have done all the hard work on your behalf and come up with a list for investment.
Right. And one more aspect for people who just want to start very new, instead of looking through all the schemes, they can just go to the stocks. I mean, go to the page for SIP at 100. You can start investing on ICICIdirect platform with as low as 100 rupees ka SIP. And there are various funds which are like, again listed. हमने star rating दिया हुआ है उसका. These are all across large cap, mid cap, and flexi cap, and you can obviously compare 3-year, 1-year, 3-month return.
One thing which we have done more is the next thing. If you can come, so Mudit has covered the SIP at the rate 100. For people who are just starting their journey into the equity markets or investments, their investment journey should start with 100, 200, 500 rupees, and then understand, maybe first experience the process and how the whole thing works, and then they can slowly and gradually increase their investments. We can go, so we have covered research, we can go to the baskets.
Yeah. So next section that we wanted to cover, guys, was the one-click mutual fund. In our second session, we covered about one-click equity, where we explained to you that you can invest in the basket of equity stocks directly. There is also one more offer called offering, or the product, which is called one-click basket for mutual funds.
So there was a question earlier, which I am an aggressive investor, where should I go? So what we have done is that we have made about 12 baskets. This is the requirement of each and every category of investors. So what happens is that even when you want to see, why baskets? First is, why baskets? Why basket? Because any investor who is investing into mutual fund won't invest into a single fund. First, the problem which lies with an investor is to decide upon which category he would like to invest in. Then the second problem is, into that category, which funds he has to go in, and how much allocation he has to. These are the 3 basic questions which are there, which is there in the mind of the investor. To take care of all these 3 questions, what we have done, we have made curated baskets, and these baskets are not an ad hoc. We have just thought and we have put in a fund into that basket. We have thought across onto which categories an investor should look into. So we have small cap, mid cap, large cap. We have beginners. We have Shubharam baskets. We have sector fund baskets. We have research baskets. And in that basket also, we have given you curated 2 or 3 funds. Plus, we have also taken care of the allocation percentage. In what allocation or what percentage allocation should be given to each and every fund, basis the overlap of the stocks which are there into that fund, basis the past performance, basis the fundamental thought process of that fund manager, and how the fund can perform going forward. So on the first part, and also the returns which we are showing is the return of the basket, not of the single fund. So we have done what we have done is that we have taken the pain out of your hand, and we have worked upon and given you curated baskets. If you can just click on the basket. Yeah. So on a single click, that's why we call it as a one-click basket. there is a 20,000.
So Ashik, what I'm seeing is that
Yeah.
there was baskets as low as 200 rupees
Yes.
and as high as a lakh rupees.
Yes.
Right. So basis your own investment need, you can just come here, you can place an order, and the order will be submitted. Right. So this is how you can invest in these baskets. And a lot of times, like when I'm not regularly tracking the market, I'm not looking at specific stocks, but कोई मुझे बोलता है कि यार pharma बहुत चल रहा है, अच्छा चल रहा है. So there's a ACE Pharma fund which you can use and invest money in, right? So all these things will help your decision making simpler. And as we covered in detail, that mutual funds are typically less risky. Your money is invested for longer time, and then you are expected to like create wealth over a period of time by using these asset classes.
So mutual fund is a long-term investment vehicle where you should at least have a 3 to 5 year horizon, and one should be more, see what I can say, disciplined in the approach of mutual funds, where if you have started an SIP or you have invested into a fund, continue with your investment for a 3 to 5 year horizon to make the most of the return potential or the opportunity of mutual funds. Maybe in a short term, market can be volatile, the returns can be lumpy, they can be very good returns in 3 months, or they can be very bad returns. But if you have a 3 to 5 year horizon, you will definitely be making good returns over a period of time.
Right. And that is what historical research about capital market says,
Yes.
right? Like, I mean, it's not like our personal view, but it's more like whatever the research has been done, capital markets end up making like decent returns over a period of time. So Ashish, let's cover a couple of questions.
Yeah.
There is one question: what kind of fund to invest in to get monthly income?
So see, normally there was one category of monthly income plans earlier in the mutual funds, but then that has moved towards the balanced category or the hybrid category. If you are an investor, you should who is looking for a monthly cash flow. I would use the word not income, but use the word cash flows. So you should go into a hybrid category fund, which has an allocation between equities, debt, and commodities, so that because all these asset classes not always move in tandem, they are opposing asset classes. If the equity as an asset class is performing, maybe sometimes the debt as an asset class is not performing, or commodity as an asset class is not performing. And if the commodity and debt asset class is performing, there are certain times also, like in the last 1 year, debt, equity, commodities, everything performed with a disclaimer. But so if you go into a hybrid fund, maybe park the money for some time, let your money grow above your capital investment, and then start withdrawing with whatever maybe monthly cash flows which you want. Normally, what has been an historic return is that you should, if you want to withdraw, you should withdraw about 3 to 4% of your capital invested, maybe after completion of 1 year of the investment, as a regular withdrawal.
Right. And we'll also again cover this as an article subsequently, that what are the different objectives with which people invest in mutual funds, and what kind of funds you invest in.
Why I said 4%, because it should not happen that you are withdrawing your capital. Any point of time, the withdrawal should be of the appreciation of the investment, not of the capital which you had invested.
Okay. One more question is, in case of basket mutual fund, will the load charges be higher than single?
No, same. It is an ease of doing a transaction.
Right.
So what we have done is that, because, as I said, there are 3 imperatives which an investor looks at: the funds, the category of the funds, then the funds in that category, and thirdly, the investment allocation. So we have taken care of all these things. So we have made a basket, but there is no difference if you invest in a single fund individually or you invest in a basket. The expense remains the same. There is no charges.
So it will be basically the weighted average of the total fund that you are.
No, weighted average would be the expense ratio, because in a basket, there are funds from different fund houses.
Right.
It is not a fund specific basket or fund house specific basket. The expense ratio would be of that individual scheme.
Understand. Okay, fine. So I think we have largely covered all of this. एक quick revision कर लेते हैं आशीष, क्या क्या cover किया हम लोगों ने,
Yes.
right? मैं एक बार इस screen I'll switch back to presentation. Okay. So guys, we covered how to place a mutual fund order. We covered what you say म्यूचुअल फंड का ऑर्डर कैसे प्लेस किया जाता है. वी शोड यू हाउ टू एक्सेस डिफरेंट काइंड ऑफ म्यूचुअल फंड्स. आप सर्च कर सकते हो म्यूचुअल फंड को. यू कैन यूज द रिसर्च सेक्शन. यू कैन ऑल्सो यूज द म्यूचुअल फंड का वन क्लिक म्यूचुअल फंड आप यूज कर सकते हो. एंड देन म्यूचुअल फंड पिक्स विच इज गिवन बाय आवर रिसर्च टीम. Then you can invest either in a monthly amount or as a lump sum. In front of every fund, you will see what is the minimum amount you're required to invest on a monthly basis if you want to do an SIP. And if you want to do a lump sum, then what is the minimum amount required? You can also choose your SIP dates. A lot of people get their salaries, say for example, within 1st to 10th मिलता है, किसी को 31 तारीख को सैलरी मिलता है. So you can choose your date whenever you want to what you say, choose the date of SIP.
In mutual funds, most of the schemes have the option of dates between 1st to 28. So it is up to you. Some schemes offer some specific dates, maybe 1, 7th, 15th, 20th. Some schemes, as I said, are open from 1st to 31st. So it is up to you which date you want to choose for SIPs.
Right. And you can add a nominee. Nominee is required, right? Like for all the.
So it is imperative that you add a nominee because though we have given an option to skip the nominee, but my sincere request to all of you is that whenever you are investing into mutual funds, please add a nominee.
Right, right. Now coming to research picks, we talked about what is one-click mutual fund. Basically, research team has picked up funds which with a curated basket for the investment. So where you can basically see what is the star rating, what are the kind of top picks according to various parameters. जो हमने देखा sharp ratio हो गया. What Ashish talked about, what is the behavior of the fund manager? Is he aggressive? Is he not aggressive? What is the kind of investment strategy that person uses, right? So that is
following the investment strategy which he has outlined into the fund objective, or in just for returns, is he deviating from it? So there are, as a normal retail investor, what we are trying to do through our research picks is to present to him a portfolio which we have done the due diligence.
Right. So this is what we can do. And then we also have our research picks. Scheme ka name आप search कर सकते हो. You can look at the returns for 3 months, 1 year, 3 year, 5 years, and so on. Then one more unique product that we have come up with is a one-click mutual fund, which is basically a basket of various mutual fund schemes, which basically is around some sort of a theme. जैसे हमने एक pharma का theme देखा था. We saw, retire, rich, right? There was one more fund which was like basically pocket friendly, which had as low as 200 rupees ka lump sum, and
So Udit, what we have done is that for the ease of investing, we have about 20 baskets which are there,
right?
Across categories, maybe large, mid, small,
right?
Across asset classes, international stocks, Indian stocks, then across sectors, which is pharma, IT,
right,
banking, and also debt. It is not only that we are talking of mutual funds
around equity
only. We have our one-click basket for debt also, which is there which is available. Then there is a basket of index funds also, which is available. So there are about 20 baskets. Then pocket friendly, maybe some investors only want to invest 200 rupees. So then also we have chosen 2 funds, and where he can invest 200 rupees per month, 100 rupees each into, and allocations based on the requirement of the investor.
Right. So आप कैसे access कर सकते हैं? You can just click on what you say one click mutual fund, and then आपको वहाँ पे पूरा list दिखाई दे देगा आप किस तरह के fund में invest करना चाहते हैं. And उसका minimum amount for one time as well as monthly is also mentioned. 1 year historical return is mentioned, and you can sort it out and you can select the fund and you can invest in it. Now, Ashish, before closing in, let us cover a couple of questions that have come. Ravi Shankar EG is asking, can we invest through this app? Can I know which direct app is it, all-in-one or super app? So this is our all-in-one app. The link is in the description for both Android as well as iOS. you can click on it and you can download it. This app has all the options. You can invest in stocks, equity, stocks, options, futures, and आपका म्यूचुअल फंड हो गया, लोन्स हो गया, बॉन्ड्स हो गया, सब में आप इनमें इन्वेस्ट कर सकते हैं. There is a question: if I want to stop one-click basket orders, do I have to exit, or option to pause is available?
Yeah, there is a pause, and cancel is also available. Like, you can cancel and you can continue with the holdings which you have accumulated over a period of time.
Understand. Balbir Singh is asking, in case I have a SIP in mutual fund for more than a year, can I put a SWP along with SIP so that in the mutual fund going forward?
Yeah, you can very well.
Okay.
So SWP can be put in any. See, SIP is only a way of investing.
Right.
So instead of lump sum investment, what you have done, you are investing every month and
Right.
you are accumulating units.
Right.
So SWP as a functionality is a redemption of units. So what will happen is that your purchase will also happen into that fund in that period, and also your redemption will also happen. So you will buy some units, and some units will be redeemed and given back to you as SWP amount.
Sure. And Balbir Singh, what we will do is we will try to capture the relevant screenshots and probably put it somewhere, and we'll try to share that as an article or some document with you so that you can access it. Shashank is asking, can I invest in mutual fund without having a demat and trading account? I think this is a big confusion in a lot of people. आपको trading account का
so to clarify, it is not required for you to have a trading or a demat account if you want to invest into mutual fund through ICICIdirect application. You can open, we call it as a one-in-one account, and you can invest.
So Ashish, is there a link जहाँ पे one-in-one पे हम लोग खोल सकते हैं?
हमारे ICICI का जो वेबसाइट है उसमें लिंक है, लेकिन हम लिंक इसमें भी लगा देंगे.
Sure. We'll put a link for you guys where you can open a demat. Sorry, you don't have to open a demat account or a trading account. You can directly start investing.
The only thing which is imperative is that you have to be mutual fund KYC compliant. If you are mutual fund KYC compliant, then your one-in-one mutual fund investment account would be open. If you are not mutual fund KYC compliant, then there is a problem. Then you will have to open a trading and demat account.
Sure, we'll put all that details into that particular link. Naveen Kumar is asking, can't we buy a mutual fund unit in lump sum in the folio that I have an SIP going? Say I have a monthly SIP of 5,000 and I get a savings of say 1 lakh or something. So I think that can
yes. When you are doing a purchase, there is a pop-up which is there. Whether you want to use the same folio, if you are investing into ICICI Potential Blue Chip Fund and you have a folio through an SIP, so there would be an option whether you want to open a new folio or you want to continue in the existing folio. So therein you can buy lump sum in the folio in which you are doing an SIP.
Right. So thank you, Ashish, for your time. A very happy new year to everybody. Thank you, Balbir Singh ji, for your appreciation. It really gives us a lot of confidence to cover more such kind of or to conduct more such kind of sessions. We will have this session every week. We are on the 4th session today, and the link to the previous session is already being pasted in the description. You guys can have a look at it. We have covered various aspects. We have covered how to log in. We have covered options. We have covered equity orders of various types. So all that is there. You can access it. Next session, we'll try to cover bonds. And apart from that, if there is anything specific that you want us to cover and you want us to, discuss on, please comment section में डालिए उसको, so that we will, at a relevant point in time, we'll definitely cover all those sessions. And again, we'll say thank you to Ashish, and
thank you all for your time and patience. We would look forward to have many more sessions with you like this. Right. One disclaimer, ICICI Securities is a mutual fund, MFI registered mutual fund distributor. There is no recommendation for any fund. All the funds are available on our application.
Right.
You can pick and choose. And mutual fund investments are subject to market risk. Please read the offer document carefully before investing.
Right. And thank you so much, guys, for your time, and have a happy new year. Have a happy and prosperous new year, so that all of you make money in the markets. And please be, coming back to this session. Yeah. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the bell icon to never miss an update from ICICI Direct.